Guten Abend, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, liebe Gäste. Ich heiße Sie sehr herzlich willkommen im Goethe-Institut. Dear members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Arpad Sölter. I'm the director of the Goethe-Institut here in Sweden. And I'm most delighted to introduce you to a very versatile scholar who has made major contributions to economic sociology and to sociological thought in general. Tonight's speaker in our lecture series on Europe is Professor Emeritus Dr. Erich Wede. Many thanks for coming to Sweden, even by train, if I may add. Greta Thunberg style. I think he deserves a special applause. Erich Wede is the most prolific social scientist who has masterfully synthesized a mountain of empirical data and historical research. And as a result, he provides extraordinary, sometimes provocative, answers to Max Weber's initial Milestone question. The question was, 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, what exactly were the forces behind the emergence of capitalism? How did the West grow rich with its invention of a market-based capitalism, democracy, and autonomous science? And why did it happen in the West and not anywhere else? What exactly are the determinants, the determining factors to decide on the rise or the decline of nations? And what are the conclusions to be drawn from this investigation for today's challenges in a globalized, digital, capitalist economy with a new multipolar political order? To tackle these questions, it takes a well-seasoned scholar to enrich our comprehension. Professor Wede has taught as professor of sociology at the universities of Cologne and Bonn, Germany, and in the 80s he was a visiting professor of international relations at the Bologna Center of Johns Hopkins University. He was a president of the Peace Science Society, he was a vice president of the International Studies Association, and he is a founding member of the Hayek Society. Of course, he's also served on numerous editorial boards. I won't mention all of them. His impressive publication record reflects a scientific career of intense and very comprehensive research. He has published 11 excellent books and about 300 publications. He's not entirely sure, he hasn't counted them, but he assured me on the way to the Goethe-Institut I shouldn't add these excellent 11 books to the list of 300 articles elsewhere. You're a very modest person indeed. Now I can say I've read 7 out of 11 of his books. I can recommend them highly. They're always written in a crystal clear language. That cannot be said for every German sociologist. What makes you laugh? I totally agree with you, obviously. And what I would also like to add, the conclusions he draws from the data that he gathers and from the research that he does, they're always backed up, and the conclusions are often not easy to digest. We will certainly have tonight a very inspiring discussion with all of you, and I would like to encourage you, make your voices heard. Ask the questions, bring your minds forward. The books you'll find on your way out, but I'll mention the English ones. Economic Development, Social Order and World Politics, written in 1996, The Balance of Power, Globalization and the Capitalist Peace, written in 2005. And for those of you who know a bit of German, I highly recommend his latest book on the West and Asia. So we're very much looking forward to your views, Professor Wede, on the European miracle, as Eric Lionel Jones has called it, in comparison with other civilizations, such as Asia. And currently, we are all aware we witness globalization facing a very deep crisis. So we are curious how you will comment on the rather sad state of affairs with such as growing protectionism, I know you don't like that a lot, trade wars and a closing of the mind, all of which are bitterly opposed to what we actually need, free trade in and between open liberal societies in a free and global market. I suppose what truly matters for you, if I may, what truly matters are property rights, reliable legal frameworks, in other words, the taming of the states, and certainly good conditions for traders and markets. So what counts is the spread of economic and individual freedom, innovation and economic growth. And I guess tonight this will be a liberal wake-up call for solid property rights for producers, traders and their markets. I would like to point out that Erich Wede has repeatedly published serious warnings too. In his view, modern democracies trend to transform themselves into so-called rent-seeking societies. I don't know whether all of you know what a rent-seeking society is. Is that part of your program tonight? In case it isn't, I'll just explain it very, very briefly. Even politicians, and if they're guided by their very best intentions even, don't trust them at all, because rent-seeking activities aim to obtain financial gains and benefits through the manipulation of the distribution of economic resources. In other words, rent-seeking will never encourage competition. It will never encourage productivity in any given economy. And that's a very bad thing. This is a recipe for disaster. It's the road to stagnation, to sclerosis, and ultimately to decline. This evening is about the rise and the fall of entire nations. That's a serious matter. Erich Wede does not shy away from crucial questions and from giving razor-sharp answers, as I've said before. He has had the audacity to argue, I quote, "In hindsight, the introduction of the euro will be considered to be the gravest mistake in post-war Germany. Europe is in danger," unquote. Recently, and even more audacious, he has examined the costs and benefits of mass migration, and he has studied the causes and prevention of conflict and wars. His research on these matters is very profound, I've said that before, and not only are the conclusions to be drawn razor sharp, but they're also immensely inspiring and very outspoken. With the British sociologist Herbert Spencer, Erich Wede is convinced, I quote, "The ultimate result of shielding man from the effects of folly is to fill the world with idiots, with fools," as Spencer has said. We are also very fortunate to have you with us, Catherine Marcel. She's a journalist for Dagens Nyheter. She's also a foreign correspondent witnessing the Brexit unfolding as we speak. Thank you for being our moderator tonight. Thanks for coming over from London. Her book, Who Cooked Adam Smith's Dinner, was translated into 20 languages. And I just learned from Katrin, a new edition is coming out, so something to put forward in Swedish. And you're writing your next book, so we've got something to look forward to. I encourage to read it. Her book was nominated for the very prestigious August Prize and has won the Lagercrantz Award. Our Swedish institutional partner tonight is Timbro. And on behalf of the Goethe-Institut, I would very much like to welcome Caspian Rebinder with us, who will represent the largest free market think tank in the Nordic countries. Thank you for coming, Caspian. It's a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, in the words of David Landis, who has also examined the wealth and poverty of nations, without controversy, there will be no serious pursuit of knowledge and truth. Make your voices heard tonight in our Q&A session with the panelists. Now, before I hand over to Professor Erich Wede, Wiltrud Kern, my dear friend, and Head of Culture and Science at the German Embassy, would also like to say a few words. Please join me in welcoming all our guests and panelists. Thank you very much.